I would like to change the subject as being printed from the point of view of meditation practice to that of Zen training to Tibetan Buddhist training of meditation practice. When we talk about Zen tradition, that we are talking cultural associations with the Japanese style of Buddhism, of certain particular order. And also we are talking in terms of certain disciplines which are shamatha meditation inspired. And when we talk about the Tibetan Buddhism, that we are talking in terms of basic trainings that might come through in the Thriyana principle, the Hinayana, the Mahayana, and the Vajrayana principle. But I think if you look at it very closely, that there is no dichotomy, no problems at all. That Zen tradition is simply expressions of Vipassana experience that is developed. Whether you wear black robe, whether you face the wall, or whether you back the wall, those little details somehow it doesn't make all that problematic as such. That seem to be the whole purpose is to develop and work on the basic understandings of mindful awareness. That awareness can work on in any level, any situations. Very simply, definitely. In the situation of a Zen tradition is concerned, that there is a lot of culture, culture that is connected with how to handle one's body, food, and certain behavior. And a certain rigid commitment. In the case of Vajrayanas, or for that matter, that of the Mahayana's point of view of Tibetan Buddhism, for that matter, the Hinayana point of view of Tibetan Buddhism is concerned, that practice consists of a sense of less work of art, less ceremony, and more commitment. The message of commitment does not have to come from that point of view, particularly how you graciously, ceremoniously conduct yourself, but how you behave in a basic total situation, fundamental situation. So we could say the Tibetan tradition of Thriyana principle is somewhat influenced by that of the Vajrayana of experience and experience without art, in the popular level at least. Which means very subtle art at the same time. In the Zen training, that there is a lot of approaches that would arouse your clumsiness. That when you begin to see through your clumsiness, you become a good Zen student. Either you sit clumsily, you walk clumsily, you conduct your whole basic behavior very clumsy level, eat for that matter clumsily, sweep, wash up, cook, whatever. That there is a tendency to bring the whole discipline into the Hinayana level of that you are highly intimidated because you are clumsy. The language of being clumsy is not so much that you're bad because you're clumsy, you're good because you're graceful as such particularly. But the language, basic language is that because this is the case with you, you happen to behave very clumsy, very artful, and all of them are hang-up, somewhat. In the Tibetan style of practice of meditation is concerned, that there was not particular big deals made on how you conduct yourself as far as culturally artful. But at basic psychologically there is enormous differences. The transparency of the culture, how you behave fundamentally, artful or clumsy or whatever, that there is some background of some kind is taking place. Fundamentally. Such backbone is necessary and important not because you be trained in how to pour tea when you meet your master, or how to learn to prostrate properly according to a certain given tradition, but how to conduct yourself at all. Every one of them included in your behavior. Whether you've been trained in the Christian tradition or Jewish tradition, Islamic tradition or whatever, you bring your piece of culture with you in any case. But if you inspire to work with the Buddhist tradition, particular behavior of sanity, that is not called for that you should become traditionalistic of something or other, but you should be sane as you come in and approach and work with your master. Even though you might be completely freaked out and completely in contact with the reality, but still there should be some languages involved. There seems to be the difference between that of the Zen tradition, that you should come to it with a certain sense of understanding and training that when you come up to the Tibetan style, that there's no particular training is necessary, except there is an enormous demand on sanity. So in some sense, both traditions work towards that basic sense of sanity, which seems to be necessary. So the question here is that how much we can rely ourselves in tradition and how much we can rely on non-tradition. As you come into the practice, into the path, the question or the topic here is not so much in terms of you should be completely well trained as to the point of how you should handle yourself. And that might make ourselves in the level of a tourism. That when you take a tour of certain native culture, native islands, that the first word you should learn is say to thank you and good morning and how are you, and then you not defend the natives and eat accordance with their style, drink accordance with their style, sit accordance with their style. And there is a lot of this crash course taking place all the time, all over the place, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, that when you go to a new country, how you should conduct yourself. And particularly a lot of very powerful business people are getting into a crash course. How to eat with the chopsticks, and how to move yourself, and how to eat, and what not to eat, how to say, should finish your plate or should leave something behind, whichever is the polite way to do. So, the point here is that when you come to a spiritual master, you don't come out with having crash course on something how to handle guru. But you already have a crash course of your own, which is your neurosis, your confusion, which is fantastic. Very vivid crash course, experiential, very good. Very, very good. It's honest and genuine experience. So you come along as you are, as they say. and you begin to experience some reality, roughly speaking, some kind of reality. One never knows which point of view that might be, but some kind of reality, some sense of somethingness. In a lot of people's cases, some sense of nothingness, some sense of too muchness. But basically speaking, some sense of somethingness takes place. Some ground is taking place for you to work your way, experience yourself. Whether you are approaching the Zen tradition, or the Tibetan style, or the Hindu style, Islamic style, whatever, it doesn't really matter. That there is some sense of experience taking place. True experience, genuine experience. Once you enter into that particular realm of being teacher, relating with the teacher and being student, then there seems to be a new area of experience taking place. Now you entered into this particular setup, particular situation. You might feel uncomfortable or good. Somehow the experience of comfort or discomfort is not particularly the issue here. That issue here is sense of sanity. Whether you are making some connections with the teachings or not, actually making some connections. You can make all kinds of connections. You can make connections to the teachings. According to the tradition, 3 different ways. You can make connections to the teaching not understand anything at all, none whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. Means almost nothing, completely nothing. Pure gibberish. That's one connection, which bewilders our mind and somewhat make us think twice, but still one never knows why you are thinking twice at all. And the whole thing is purely gibberish and no comprehension, no understanding at all whatsoever. And then second type of connection is you can hear the connections. You have some understandings of something or rather, and because of those understandings of something or rather, that you got some ideas of how things might be taught, how things might be presented, and you have some basic understandings of the whole thing. Briefly, very casually, and you probably know what does mean by good in terms of the teachings, what does mean by bad in terms of teachings, what the teachings have to present to you. but whole thing is completely upside down, that you misunderstood the whole thing. When the teaching says good, you understood as bad. The teaching says it's bad, you understood as good. That is completely lopsided, to say the least. And a complete misunderstanding. Because you pay your attention to some directions, but you are self-oriented, ego-oriented, that you want to hear in a certain way, that those things you want, you heard what you wanted. So, for instance, example, if it be said that there is no ego, the path is egoless path, that person would understand this path is egohood path. You should build your ego. And then there's the third one, which is partial understanding, that you catch some glimpses of the truth, of the teachings, very, very partially. Part of them understood, and a part of it haven't understood. But still, there's some sense of guidelines taking place. That you might have understood that the message which you might say, at dawn we rise and eat our breakfast. You might have not heard the whole thing, but you have heard, at dawn we rise, but you probably have missed your breakfast. That's pretty good. You may not have had your breakfast, but you rose at dawn. That's partial understanding, what's known as partial understanding. And the reason why those understandings, those processes are being covered by all kinds of obstacles are because thickness on the one side of spiritual materialism. Spiritual materialism, if you are thick, stupid, then one begin to think everything good is for the, on behalf of goodness. But not knowing that some goods are good and some goods are bad. And that kind of, one has to develop that kind of smart, cunning, humorous attitude is necessary, had to develop. And the processes that half understood or not understood, misunderstood, are a very important point here in terms of practice of meditation. We have the same problems with the Zen tradition at the same time. At the Zen tradition, people are raised in appreciation of things as they are. You have a training of Oroyoki, how to eat properly in Zendo, unfolding your scarf, napkin rather, and dealing with the 3 bowls, and everything's been trained for you. Wash up and folding back, Oroyoki training. The Zendo, and how to practice walking meditation, sitting meditation, and everything, being precisely trained. But then you will be also the subject of those three principles. Not understanding, misunderstanding, partial understanding takes place all the time. I'm sure we are doing something right now here, in this hall. Quite possibly, I suppose. In the Zen tradition, when we talk about poetry, appreciation of things as they are, architectural appreciation and so forth, that we could create all kinds of misunderstandings there. Could such austere and beautiful setup be regarded as home? Or could such setup be regarded as work of art? For that matter, on the other hand, could such setup be regarded as a sanctuary for practicing meditation? Those three principles being enormously problematic with all of us, and dealing with the Zen tradition. Obviously, the Zen tradition would say that such austere situation is designed to develop inspiration to meditate. But then we have involved another problem. But what kind of meditation we are talking about? Are we talking about bird watching, nature gazing, grasshopper gazing, frog watching? Or are we talking about actual, real practice according to the Buddha? Sit and watch your mind and watch your breath. That has become caution, big caution, very big caution. We have a lot of poets in this country alone, a lot of artists, musicians are involved with Zen, so to speak, Zen, the Zen, with the capital Z, and feels very safe, and feels that you can't be criticized since you've been doing Zen. It's very safe, and if you criticize, that's also Zen, and you can always get away. If I'm doing Zen, okay, I'm doing Zen. And how you do Zen? If you can't answer that person, how you doing Zen? I will say, I'm just doing Zen. And Zen doesn't have explanations. Okay. You feel stupid that you ask a question. A close shave, but still you gotta get away with it. Why do you wear a hat? It's Zen. Why do you wear only one shoes? It's Zen. It's becoming very pathetic in some sense. I wouldn't say it's amusing, actually. It's very pathetic that we have to lower down that level of Zen as being just ape instinct, which hadn't got a duality together. You can compose poems of all kinds. My right knee hurts. Because I see crescent moon. Who cares? Such approach is a charlatan. You can make anything out of nothingness because nothingness is your perception, your saving grace. But then you have to present some kind of dichotomy to make sure that what you said is okay. Because of nothingness, because of somethingness. If you feel awkward, you give something else by saying that exists, this exists. And therefore, that is meaningless, which is the usual trick in the composing poetry. Would say that a tree is a tree. The rock is the rock. But bubble disappears. It's absurd. What you trying to say? It's cheating. It's absurd. And we haven't got the level of actual experience in what Zen might be, so-called Zen, if there's anything at all. What actually it is. We missed the whole point. It's very tricky because it gives enormous room for charlatans and egohood people that you can endlessly compose volumes after volume of such poetry and such way of thinking constantly all the time that when you compose one topic, then you compose, supplement that particular topic. Then the third one is just trying to get away from that commitment. You say something very silly. And that becomes a problem all the time. So, Zen has provided us, in America particularly, enormous background, enormous dedication, practice of exertion of all kinds had produced particularly enormously, but at the same time that enormous people being deceived by Zen because they could play that game and nobody can challenge. And you people appreciated such charlatan poetry. At the same time, that's shocking. That's not particularly encouraging, actually. You thought those poetries are funny and interesting, which may be so, but those poetries are charlatan poetries that you can provide. It's shy away from reality. That you provide something You have first thought and you have second thought, then you try to make smooth out of the both of those. Those are the process that goes on. And this particular process might train you how to detect charlatans, which is absolutely important. People use Zen ideas to be charlatan, they get away. In fact, they produce enormous, beautiful wisdoms. They make it. They help people, but fundamentally they fail because they failed in themselves. That's become a problem. I think the whole point here about Zen and the actual practice of meditation, we don't want to particularly call it a Tibetan style as such, but just basic Buddhist sitting practice of meditation. That we are not involved with that particular work of art, comparing the positive, negative, coming conclusion of something or other. That we are talking about it purely in terms of simplicity, and simply that sitting practice of meditation is involved with just it, breath, sitting. Doesn't matter what cushion you sit on. It doesn't matter what environment you are at. Simply one just does it. Simply one just does it. I work with one's neurosis. It's simple as that. We have a lot of possibilities of deceiving ourselves from that point of view. We think we are something or somebody or other. We will have to prove it, try to pursue it. Either you have an astrological chart is worked out for you, or as spiritual symbols descending on you from above. Else you be raised from underneath you, that you are the divine incarnation of receiving spiritual message that you would like to work with the fellow man. Whatever, there's endless possibilities of that. But everything seems to be rubbish, full of shit. You don't have to be too serious about that. You could be humorous about that. It's ironically true, but makes you sad, on the other hand, that such interest, such human intelligence missed that particular point, and you took it as being real. It's very sad. It's devastatingly sad. We could weep and we could weep and weep, years and years and years. The sadness of the universe that mankind being abused to such extent, which is terrible, inhuman. It's not right. Such things shouldn't happen at all. It is time for us to raise our dignity, a real dignity that we have instinct already in us, we have intelligence already in us. Why don't we use them? It, that, whatever. Use it. Well, it's up to us, obviously. That nobody can dictate, that we can't form a union, organization, or mankind's limb. That's been done already. And somehow it becomes a small organization already. There's no point in doing that. Defeats its purpose already. So you have to raise some kind of consciousness. And particularly the question that raises that at the beginning, talking about Zen and the basic meditation practice, which is a very important point for you to understand, that how we could work, how we could take pride in the human existence of their egohood or their egolessness, whatever. Excuse me. Develop some sense of dignity and power. Seem to be an extremely important point. I would like to turn over this particular meeting to the audience, so you're welcome to ask any questions.
Could you speak some more about what you mean when you say basic sanity?
It's very basic. It doesn't need any reference point of view. It is self-spoken already by itself. That there's no questions involved. That you see things truly and fully as things that they are. Directly, simply. There's no point, there's no need for a reference point. And simply seeing things as they are, very clearly. You hear them, you see them, you feel them, you smell them, as very simple situation.
And neurosis then would be seeing things as they aren't?
Precisely. There are some little distortions, not understanding, partial understanding, or misunderstanding. We discussed that, do you remember?
When you were speaking of poetry, were you talking about the Japanese haiku?
Not particularly. Just simple poetry.
I was just wondering, isn't there something meditative in trying to see things in that way, which is as they are, rather than with the interpretation?
Well, I don't think it makes any difference because haiku could be fantastic. And any poetry is transparent. Can you compose a poem for us? On the spot.
The Tibetan man waving his metal object smiles in our eyes.
Yes, could you tell me what you mean by charlatan poetry? I'm not sure what the word charlatan means.
You have heard about that before? In the dictionary? Well, charlatan is somebody who plays a game that pretend to be something else. Either guru teacher, the leader, or whatever. But this point, charlatan is, spiritually speaking, that a person abuses the other people's energy, not knowing where he is at himself, but hoping that he could find some guidance by abusing other people's energy. And finding that, hopefully, that he could find his way through. Consequently, hurting a lot of people, destroying a lot of people's life and intelligence at the same time. So, from this point of view, spiritually speaking, being charlatan is almost murderous. That you murder people on one side, other side, completely. Because you have no consideration of their need, but you try to build yourself up at the same time.
Thank you.
In white.
Could you talk about the difference between Zen and basic or Tibetan Buddhism in their approach to the neurotic mind?
At that point, it's exactly the same approach. I mean, that's why there's a common goal, common interest between Zen and the Tibetan approach, is their view to the basic mind and their neurosis are exactly identical. The problem might come up with the application, how to handle it, but as far as the basic point is concerned, it's identical.
Feel that John Cage is a charlatan?
I beg your pardon?
Do you feel that John Cage is a charlatan?
John Cage
Musician.
is a charlatan. Well, it's very difficult to say, not having had a personal relationship with him, not meeting him, and seeing how he handled his body and how he handled himself. But at the same time, that if he is a charlatan, he seems to be a very courageous charlatan. And I don't know, I have to find out. And I have to do my homework with him. So I could let you know later on.
Do you think this whole problem with charlatans is, isn't this sort of magnified by the fact that we don't have an American tradition yet in Buddhism, and that when we cease to have Japanese or Chinese or Tibetan grafted on, but when we do have American, that the problem will become much less?
Well, that's true. It's much easier to become charlatan of foreign culture because half of people doesn't know what you're doing. And you begin to say something and you begin to accept the whole thing. Whereas if you're American charlatan or Christian charlatan, which is easily detected, you have to be true to what you're saying. That seems to become a problematic situation. I'm afraid. You're right. The mysteriousness makes you charlatan. Possibilities being charlatan. That is the problem, actually.
One of the last things you said was that we have to begin to take a pride, we have to begin to have dignity, and then you said in either our egolessness or the truth or in our egohood, and that didn't make sense to me.
How come? You tell me first.
It seems that the trap, there's a false pride or false dignity in your ego, in the I amness, which seems to just build more and more egohood, rudrahood.
True.
So what's the value of taking pride in that without proper discrimination?
Well, I think if you take pride truly properly, you feel you are 100% proud of yourself. Whereas in the case of rudrahood or egohood, it's not 100%, because you have some suspicion you have to protect your territory, something or other. There is some suspicion is happening as well at the same time. So that's the differences, because you have all kinds of aggressions and passions, and the territorial game is going on all the time. You can't be 100% proud of yourself. That's why it's called a Vajra pride, because the whole thing is completely protected. If you have the true pride.
So when you do feel a very solid pride in yourself, in your own being, that in itself will cut through.
If there's no watcher, then you develop your pride. Watcher of self-consciousness, that's okay. That's masterpiece. Good luck, sir. I would like to ask people to compose the poems. Particularly, seem to be appropriate tonight. That if you like to, you raise your hand. Well, why don't you compose a poem? Can you give me the microphone to him? You can do it.
I'll stand up and do it. Sweaty feeling doesn't help your mind to work through the emptiness.
That's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. That's fantastic. You did it.
I'm an American Buddhist. I wish I knew what that was.
How what?
I wish I knew what that was.
American Buddhist? Like you. This building is American Buddhist.
You are the radiant sun, without whose rays the diamond doesn't shine.
If you say so. Well, I think it's time to close down. Thank you very much.